This is exactly right.
Hello.
Hi.
And welcome.
This is My Favorite Murder.
And we're here to provide you with all your true crime / comedy needs via podcast in your ear hole.
That's right. Any content that you're looking for that involves true crime and comedy. This is hi, we're here.
That's it. Yeah. Hi. We've got the audio version to please you.
Stop asking.
You've got it.
Hey, let's kick this off.
Oh, God.
Let's just do this.
Yeah. So with heavy hearts, we were quite heartbroken that last week we had to shut down our Facebook page, but essentially we could no longer be responsible for the things that were happening on it. First and foremost, pretty much first and last, I would say, was somebody posted a racist post on our Facebook page. That's kind of the beginning and the end of it. Everything that happened after that was because there was a racist post on our Facebook page. There was fighting, but we went in there and went, there's no way to solve this for us because that's unacceptable to us. We are trying to have a zero tolerance policy about racism. And then we realize if it's not us doing it, then we can't be responsible for what happens.
I mean, if our names are still attached to it, then it is our responsibility.
That's right. And so it's just gotten too big and those kinds of incidents, like we just don't want that anywhere near us. We can't afford it and we don't want it.
My Favorite Murder is a fucking open, diverse fucking audience. We welcome everyone, and we have literally no patience in our lives and in this podcast for any kind of fucking racism.
Also,
and intolerance.
Making mistakes about or being culturally insensitive is definitely something we have done in the past and that we probably will do in the future because we're two white girls from lower middle class backgrounds.
Right.
So we have our own biases and ignorances that we work through on this podcast with our listeners. Thank God.
And that we're happy to learn. Like, I love how much we've learned through this podcast of things we shouldn't do and did wrong and didn't even realize. And, you know, it's an amazing learning experience.
Yeah. And we are continuing to learn. We're not going to stop. And so basically we just have to, we make enough mistakes by ourselves. We can't be responsible for mistakes other people make. I think overall, for me, the most important thing is it's very important that this community is united. It's a very powerful group of people that listen to this podcast that have reached out to each other and that have connected to each other, and whatever problems that we all might face and stumbling blocks that we all might hit along the way, let's continue to reach toward each other because we're stronger together. And it's really a powerful thing that we're beginning to move toward each other. And I think that's just the key thing, that we continue to do that. And from what I've seen, that seems like what the majority of people want to do and are interested in doing and are putting work toward doing. So we thank you very much for your patience, and we apologize for the hurt feelings and some of the anger that's out there. It's not what we want. It's nothing we can control. And we hope to do better in the future.
Yeah. And I just want to address really quickly, the teepee design, which is one of those things that, you know, as fucking culturally woke as we believe we are, we just completely fucked up and missed. And I take total fucking, you know, it's culturally appropriation. It's something that we now realize and will be a lot more attuned to in the future. We took down the teepee design. It's now just a tent. And we're also donating $10,000 to the First Nations Development Institute, you know, as an apology. And we're sorry for that. And, you know, in the future, I hope we make better decisions.
I mean, that's the way we learn. We talked to several people who also have popular podcasts, and my favorite comment was somebody said, "I can't believe you even still had a Facebook page in your name."
Like 22,000 people? No, 238,000 people.
It's way too big.
Too many people.
And yeah, I mean, I think we went much longer than the average fan site goes without infighting and the fold. But Anyway,
I'm sad because that was a good place for me to go like late at night with insomnia. Like people would post these links to stories, but now we have the fan cult. There's also a forum on the fan cult where you can post stuff, and that is a little bit of a neater, more contained group of conversations and links and discussions.
well, and we have direct control over it.
Right.
I think that's the key.
All right. Well, here's my corrections corner from 2 weeks ago when I did the Gainesville Ripper. And man, I got a lot of flack for this, and I totally understand. Listen, everyone, I went to community fucking college, and I dropped the fuck out.
You pissed off some college people.
Yes.
I think you planted yourself right in the center of some kind of a rivalry, a Florida rivalry.
I totally did.
Did you?
And I remember getting to the like you of whatever, and I was like, oh shit, Georgia, you have two choices to make. Like, just fucking say one thing. You should have looked this up. And I said that it was Florida State when really it was University of Florida in Gainesville. Fucking shit. Which of course is represented by their mascot, Karen, the
leafy sea dragon.
Exactly. So go leafy sea dragons.
Yay.
I'm so sorry that, we fucked this up. And or we meaning me.
Yeah, you tried to drag me down into that
That's right.
shit.
Karen should have known.
I have to say it did hit my ear odd. No, I have no idea what's going on most of the time. That's true.
Okay. So you are finally watching Succession.
Oh my God.
How good is it?
First of all, Kieran Culkin.
He needs to win 100 million Emmys, make new Emmys.
Here's the beauty. And I think if you're trying to be a film or television actor, if you could just please show us that you're having a great time being that person. Sometimes those giggles that he lets out when he's just about to be an asshole are like the most delightful thing that happens to me all day.
This is like, he knows he was made for this character.
Yes. And also those personalities, they're like tropes of people that you encounter in life so often, where so often I'll be in some kind of a business, or have been, I should say, in business situations in my career, and watched a dude talk like that and been like, I think I'm being funny, but I'm actually being a monster asshole, but I'm doing it under the guise of humor.
Yeah.
And why aren't you laughing along? 11-year-old boy,
and then
or
they're like,
whoever
they
decide.
don't get the joke anymore. Like it's your problem for not understanding the joke.
Or yeah, it's not a joke. It's just someone being passive aggressive. And they go, dude, I'm fucking with you. And then you're just like, in your mind, you just check off like, never be in the room with that guy again.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. Why don't you get it?
Calm down. I'm kidding.
It's just it's a bevy of assholes. Also, the one and only Mr. Darcy, Matthew McFadden, is in that, and you told me this. Sorry, I'm repeating what you told me.
No, but I just like, I'm so glad you know now, because all I could say was like, oh my fucking God.
Mr. Darcy has an American accent, and he's one of the bigger assholes on the show.
Just wait. The whole season, he sucks so bad. It's so beautiful how much he sucks.
It's a study in people who suck and why.
And then the big brother, what's his name from Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Alan Ruck.
Like those, oh God.
When he told the little girl, I have an aquifer and you can I'll share it with you.
It's just,
there's everything about it is amazing.
Truly one of my favorite fucking shows. And okay, my show that I want to fucking mention for no reason, just to tell everyone, is there's a show called Castle Rock that's out now.
Okay.
And it's, set in the Stephen King multiverse, which I read off of their Wikipedia. But basically,
which you also live in.
Yes. Which means that, so it's Stephen King. I don't know. He's like kind of part of it somewhere. God, does he write it? Stephen, will you check that I'm not fucking this up? So like they'll be going through old newspapers, and then they live in Castle Rock, and it'll be like one Easter egg that says like rabid dog trolls town or whatever. But it's produced by J.J. Abrams, and it's this like creepy, like something happened to this town, and this guy played by Andre Holland from Moonlight as a kid, and like, did this thing happen or didn't this thing happen? And fucking Bill Skarsgård, who might be the hottest Skarsgård.
Which Skarsgård is that?
It's a new one. They created a new one in a fucking laboratory. I swear to God. And he's like,
did he escape from Westworld and come over to Castle Rock?
He's like bony and like angular and super fucking hot.
I gotta say, and I support the whole Skarsgård family. They've been
clan.
Great to us.
They like to be called clan.
They're a clan, and they've been so good to Kilgariff, but that's not my type at all.
No, he's not.
Skarsgård.
He isn't.
He's not a tall, skinny blonde.
Wait, well, that other one isn't. No, okay, yeah. I guess he's. But this other Skarsgård, the one who is in like Wormwood, he's kind of nebbishy.
I didn't see Wormwood.
I might be getting
What's
my
Wormwood.
Wormwood's the one where it's like the documentary kind of thing where he got like LSD'd in the fucking military and shit. Yeah. All right, man. Tangent.
Sorry, I totally forgot about Wormwood. I just wrote a thing in my mind. I was like, did Neil Gaiman write Wormwood? Is it about worms?
and Melanie Linsky, who was in Togetherness. So I fucking love her so much.
Yes, and she's from Heavenly Creatures.
Oh, right.
She's the girl with Kate Winslet in Heavenly Creatures.
Oh, right. I just like watching her on screen a lot. So it's a really good show.
Melanie Linsky is a great unsung great actress.
I think she's being sung on fucking Castle Rock.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, now I have to watch it.
Yeah.
And also because you and I have talked about this, but Stephen King books were so my thing. Like when I was 12 and I realized I could read a book that was very easy for my eyes to read. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't have to concentrate too hard.
Complicated.
But it was very adult. And
it was so it was so visual.
It was so cinematic.
Yes.
I feel like no one can do it like him in that way. Like when I read The Stand, I was in the stand.
Yeah.
The world was ending because of the flu.
My 13-year-old, 14-year-old existence was just Stephen King book after Stephen King book.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
I had to hide mine and pretend I was reading Judy Blume. My mom didn't care, but my dad'd be like, why does that book have a skull on the front of it?
Why can't you sleep? And you're scared out of your fucking mind. My brother in high school named his stupid, like, sweet, dumb mutt dog Cujo. And it was the funniest thing because it was like the sweetest dog you've ever met. I saw him as a puppy and he was just like, hey. And my brother was like, his name's Cujo. Asher.
Cujo was filmed. There's one part where they're driving out to the mechanics ranch and it's filmed in Petaluma.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's filmed on Bodega Avenue, like on the way out to my house. And when, that came out in whenever it was, I was probably 14. The pride that we all felt. We were like, look, it's our street. It was just so exciting.
I bet. Let's all this week watch Stand By Me again, just to have a moment of our nostalgia and our youth.
I love that movie.
That is one of... Oh my God, listen.
It's
Corey
so
Feldman. Good. I was a Corey Feldman freak as a child.
Were you?
Yeah, because he was Jewish. So I thought it was like,
oh,
he's Jewish. And I like that.
That fucking River Phoenix.
Oh,
he is.
Dreamboat.
See, River Phoenix in that movie was like when you're a little girl and there's a boy in your school and he's like a little man. Mm-hmm. He does everything manly except smoke cigarettes, but like right up to where like they have like
so
a deep scratchy voice and they kind of take care of business and they're not mean to little kids and they're kind of like, hey, there's always that one boy that's like that.
But I think what he did was spawn a generation of girls who grew up to be women that when guys are hot and quiet, they love them. Yes. When really it just means they're crazy or boring when they're quiet.
But the idea that, first of all, the idea that movie is built around, do you want to go see a dead body? Which is like, of course I do.
Yeah.
If only there was one girl in that, so I could have really gotten in there. But second only, that fucking scene where Lardass barfs at the pie eating contest is like the greatest thing that's ever happened. It's the best.
Life changing.
It's so great. My dad used to talk about that scene constantly. It was his favorite.
I mean, it's kind of fat shaming, but he won in the end.
It's kind of what?
Fat shaming, but it's body positive.
It's body positive because
so
he won in the end, and then also because our young Jerry O'Connell, who in the movie is a little fat guy, grew up to be Mr. Atlas, rock solid body.
Can I just say I follow Jerry O'Connell on Instagram? And he and Rebecca Romaine just seem like the fucking nicest people. Like,
and so funny.
And so normal and but like the most beautiful people you've ever seen. But like, they seem so cool.
It's it's like people actually having a good time with their
That's right.
fame and fortune.
They should fight Chrissy Teigen and John Legend to see who's a cooler couple. Wouldn't that be funny?
They should have a cool fight.
Yeah.
Cool off. Shit, I felt like I had something else to tell you.
This, that, the other. There's a bunch of on the fan cult site, we're posting weekly on Fridays unboxing videos of us opening what is now a fucking like tower of unopened gifts in my loft.
You guys send us so many rad presents. It's always Christmas up here in the pod loft.
And I think we just filmed one the other day. We filmed a bunch of them for the month. And I think it's some of the best fucking gifts we've ever gotten. Like, I truly, I just want everyone to see this shit. It's
Spoiler alert, there's tiny food. Let me just tell you, there's the tiniest food present you've ever seen.
This is my absolute, like, I literally started crying when I fucking saw this.
Yeah, it's exciting. Oh, wait, I think I should read this to you.
Okay, great.
Because you'll like it. It's an email. Steven, just hand it to me.
Great. It sounds like on the news. This just in.
That was absolutely a lie, but I thought it'd be fun to say, like, oh, Steven just handed me this email. Hot off the presses. The subject line is Food Network Boiling League. Hey friends, I'm literally at work right now at the Food Network listening to the podcast, and you guys talking about having a boiling TV show made me shit my pants. We love you guys here in the Food Network offices. Wow. Totes come to boil some pasta with us when you're in NY. That's literally all I have to say. Okay, bye. That was from Casey.
That's nice. Tell Casey they didn't love me when I had a TV show that they didn't want to fucking renew.
Hey, listen, I got 20 years of stories like that, baby. You got to put in your time in this business.
Look at me now.
What I love is
I have a boiling water show, bitch.
We both had to go. Steven handed me, hot off the presses, handed me this email, and I was like, what is this about? And he's like, remember in the Cleveland show? And
I was like, a bowling show? Why do we have a bowling show?
What do we have, bowling? And then he had to basically remind us of our own jokes and experience.
I was like, that's funny. A boiling. I didn't mean I'm funny. I meant like a boiling show would be great.
I had to say that when you have a podcast, and I recommend you start one.
Absolutely. Everyone.
Please.
I think the new everyone has a book inside them is everyone has a podcast inside them.
And they truly do.
Yeah.
Record 2-hour conversations.
Yep.
And then 4 weeks later, go ahead and try to remember anything from those conversations.
Yeah.
Which is why, and I don't think we've ever plugged this, which is why there's a Twitter feed called MFM Out of Context. And some saint is taking random quotes from all different shows and just tweeting them. And it makes me laugh, and I hate everything I say and do. Yeah. I don't enjoy going back over things to try to.
Sounds so Catholic of you.
I know. And also it's very like, I'm being presentationally like self-loathing right now, but truly normally it's painful. And the other day I started reading it because somebody retweeted one that I was like, that's funny. And then I started reading it and I texted Georgia. I'm like, this shit's funny that we're doing. I didn't really, I don't know if I was
be like, we're funny.
That was
question
funny.
Question mark. Like,
have you heard of this? I guess I haven't been,
paying attention.
I think it's best I don't pay attention.
We haven't told Karen that any of this is being recorded from the very beginning. She thinks that the mic in front of her is actually a cat.
And I just think when people tweet at me and tell me things, I'm like, ooh, they really know me really well.
Yeah.
But instead of the fact that they've listened to my conversations.
Karen thinks every moment of her life is a multiverse and doesn't realize it's just one long trajectory.
I have to say, there's a lot of big words there, Georgia. I have to say that right now just had the recovered memory that I thought of the Truman Show before the Truman Show. Because
that sounds so Truman Show of you.
I know. And before the person who sued the Truman Show for saying they also wrote the Truman Show earlier. But when I lived in San Francisco, I had this feeling the way, and this may have had to do with the amount of pot I was smoking and the amount of beer I was drinking every night. But I always had this feeling that when people walked by me on the street, they weren't convincing as like extras in my life.
Like they're playing a role and they're like not doing it very well.
It'd be like it came to my mind one time I was walking down the street in the Mission where we all lived, me and my friends, and this guy crossed the street, like came from around the corner and crossed the street.
It was like action extra.
He was so stiff. He was so unnatural. There was nothing about it that said he was really doing it.
It was
and
his first day of extra work.
Yeah. I was like, this is fake. This is all fake.
You're like, bullshit, motherfucker.
Get back to one. Let's try that again, sir.
I thought I must have had some sort of weird, I had such extreme self-conscious anxiety as a child, so I wasn't high on pot and beer yet.
Yeah.
That I concocted this idea in my head. I also wasn't sleeping very well. Listen, I wasn't crazy. That I concocted this idea in my head that that everyone just played along and felt really bad for me because I had this disease where I was always naked and I was the only one who didn't know it.
Whoa. Whoa.
And I'd go to school and I do this. Everyone was like, don't tell Georgia. I might make you cut this out soon. I seriously sound paranoid.
But keep talking. Just work through it. And then you can cut it out later.
That's the extent of my anxiety as a child. Was I just thought everyone was fucking with me.
Right.
Like, constantly.
Sure.
So
I knew everyone was fucking with me. And then you just plan for that being the reality of how do you not get fucked with.
Which maybe is why I'm always so naked now. Like when I answer the hotel room door, when you knock on the door, and I think it's hilarious to answer when your friend comes to the door and you happen to be naked, just to be like, what's up? So now I don't care. I probably am.
That's still,
it's my favorite joke.
I wish I could explain how my eyes didn't accept what I was seeing, because I was like, no, people don't do this. And Georgia's just standing there like, hey,
I just like, don't leg out. And it was like in the hallway of the hotel. So I am betting on no one walking by, you know?
Oh, you were rolling those dice.
I absolutely was.
Also, remember Australia? Aww. We had so much fucking fun on that trip.
That was in Melbourne. That was so much fun.
But we were having the best time while simultaneously trying to write that fucking book.
Yeah, you guys remember that book that we never told you about?
So we were like having great fun and traveling and taking in all this great shit, and at the same time there was this intense cord of stress
because we were already like
the whole thing.
3 chapters late.
Yes.
We were already immediate, like right when it started, somehow we were already late.
We were already behind. And then it was kind of like, what do? We have to do it. Like every time we tried to get together.
Your guts out and talk about your paranoia as a child, you psychopath.
It's so fucking
And we were fucking planning, which we haven't talked about on the podcast yet, a fucking podcast network the whole time too.
Yes, that's right. Oh, now do we get to talk about that?
Yeah, it's out.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's exactly right.
All I want to talk about is how many fucking names we tried to come up with for the podcast network. I'm not kidding you. It took months before we finally got one that wasn't taken already.
Yes. Well, okay. So, but just for those of you who can't follow this, and we understand and we do apologize.
Listen.
We are now starting our own podcast network, which means that My Favorite Murder will be on it, as well as a bevy of other podcasts that we're not allowed to tell you what they are right now. But when we do tell you, you're going to shit. Ugh. Here's an Easter egg of a hint.
Yes.
You want to guess at this?
I love it. What's it gonna be? I'm sorry.
Your friends are going to be on this.
Yeah.
Your friends are going to be on this, and people that you know are going to be on this podcast network.
It's going to be a My Favorite Murder multiverse.
There we go.
With fucking Easter eggs.
What was the other word you used?
From the trajectory.
From
the beginning of the trajectory of My Favorite Murder, the fucking Easter eggs that are going to come in. That guy who did that thing. Remember that thing we talked about?
Yeah.
It's going to be happening. It's going to take some time. We're going to like slowly roll them out. Not slowly, but it's just, we gotta curate this fucking network. And
we've been working on it for a while, and we have been working on it with you in mind.
Yeah.
With what you might want to listen to and who you might want to be involved with very much every step of the way. And we wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't for you, because you guys listening to this podcast and giving us these numbers has enabled us to have people go, oh, we think because you did that, you can do this.
Yeah.
And so it's just as much yours as it is ours. I know sometimes we say shit like that and it sounds really cheesy, but that one's just a fact.
Yeah.
Like we get to build this because of the support that we have with you guys. And we're so excited.
Karen, that's exactly right. That's the one that finally we were like, what stupid shit do we say all the time?
And it was George's idea. That's what I love. It was my quote, but it was your idea.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Great.
It was like the last minute where they were finally like, is
it going to be SSDGM or not? And we were like, no.
It was down to these ones where we were just going back and forth. And then we wanted it to be Red Flag Media. That's Gwen Stefani's company.
We wanted it to be fucking Starling Media.
Starling Media.
Like Agent Clarice Starling. Wouldn't that be fucking perfect? But there's some like media in. Don't hound them, please. Can you bleep where I don't know. And it was taken.
Leave alone.
Yes. And yeah, so then finally it was like, oh, let's try Exactly Right with no hope at all because everything, Look and Listen was taken.
Yeah.
Fucking everything was taken.
Everything was, all the slogans were taken.
Kill Hard just sounds too intense.
Yeah. And we're doing more than that. And we're developing out.
Right.
So anyway, we've been excited to tell you about that for a long time too. There's been so much happening in the LBC.
Oh, and here's the ELVIS.
Hi, friend.
Mascot.
I like when you come over to me first, Elvis.
Elvis.
Hi. Do you ever pull his tail a little bit?
Yeah, that's cats like that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, when you give him like a little kind of it's almost like a massage.
Yeah, but a little like, get over here.
Not hard, just like
more of a suggestion. Hi.
Mister.
With America's #1 meal kit, HelloFresh, you'll get easy, seasonal recipes and pre-measured ingredients delivered right to your door. All you have to do is cook and enjoy. HelloFresh makes cooking delicious meals at home a reality. From step-by-step recipes to pre-measured ingredients, you'll have everything you need to get a wow-worthy dinner on the table in about 30 minutes. Say goodbye to endless grocery store trips and takeout. HelloFresh has you covered. There's something for everyone, from family recipes to calorie smart and vegetarian, and fun menu series like Hall of Fame and craft burgers. HelloFresh has more 5-star recipes than any other meal kit, so you'll know you're getting something incredible. HelloFresh is flexible and it fits your lifestyle. Easily change your delivery days, food preferences, and skip a week whenever you need. Break out of your dinner rut and make deliciousness part of every week with HelloFresh. I love that even though HelloFresh is super easy and they make it really basic and like straightforward, you still feel like you're cooking this like incredible home cooked dinner. And that makes me feel good about myself. And that instead of just ordering takeout, I'm actually making something and preparing something at home. And that just, it feels good. So for $80 off your first month of HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com/murder80 and enter murder80. It's like receiving 8 meals for free only at HelloFresh.com/murder80, promo code murder80. Go buy.
Okay, do we have any other business?
I think that's it.
So many big pieces of business this week.
Yeah, like Skarsgårds. For example.
It's any big piece of business is a downright Skarsgård at the end of the day. I think you're first, right?
Am I? Steven? Yes.
Yep. You did the Kurt
I just got like a heart flutter.
Because you love your story?
I got like a nervous excitement. I'm glad I'm going first because I'm like excited about it.
Okay.
And it's just like, it's gonna be something.
Okay. Wow. Now I'm excited. Hold on. Let me reposition.
Yeah. Turn towards me.
And really face you.
Yeah.
Normally I like to sit parallel to Georgia like we're both on the bus. And that it's just some lady talking to me that I'm not necessarily listening to on the bus.
Karen hasn't made eye contact with me in 6 months.
I think it's better for our performance.
And now that we have this new couch from Article, there's like nowhere to sit. Good. Okay.
And because they don't have stores, shipping, blipping, blip, bipping, shippy, shappy.
Promo code murder. Okay. All right. Speaking of Culkins.
Uh-oh.
This is the murder of Angel Melendez.
Yes.
And AKA the Party Monster murder.
That's right.
It's fucking right. It is.
This story.
Yep. How have I not done this already?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask yourself.
It is. I was a wannabe club kid when it was all over.
You had huge Junko jeans, right?
No, I didn't have Jinkos, but I had the huge stack shoes.
Oh, okay.
I had Adidas that were stacked up high. Yes. I had like the pigtails that were crimped but this is in fucking Orange County. I wanted to be a club kid.
In like Manchester? No,
in New York.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Manchester works too.
I was just thinking Hacienda.
Yes.
Oh, wait, sorry, really quick. Have you seen, I went down a bit of a Cillian Murphy hole, as I want to do during my days. There's video of him as like a 19-year-old at the Hacienda dancing.
Which, by the way, for those who know what we're talking about, watch 24-Hour Party People, the movie, first of all. But when we were in fucking Manchester, we stayed across the street from where the Hacienda was, which is now, of course, high-rise buildings. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So back to America.
Okay. So I want to say that there's so much online of information, but I got a couple of my sources that I want to go ahead and give credit to. There's a shockumentary called Party Monster.
Okay.
From 1998. And then The Guardian, there's a good article by Emma Brox. Brockes. Brockes.
Brockes. Brockes, I'd say.
Brockes. And also there's a fucking American Justice about this. So
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
hell
it's
yeah.
bananas.
No, this story was humongous when it happened.
Yeah.
It was huge.
It was. So here we go. Let's fucking time and place this motherfucker.
Okay.
It's the 1980s in New York City. These crazy mega dance clubs like Studio 54 are all the rage for the rich, famous assholes who want to see and be seen, and hobnob and do designer drugs and shit. Like it's like the fucking rich, famous people are all the rage.
Hell yeah.
That's Karen's scene.
I'm into it.
So going to these clubs meant seeing legit celebrities like Cher and Andy Warhol and Mick Jagger. And the guest list is fucking tight. It's hard to get into these clubs. It's like, there's not for nobodies. You know what I mean? Like you have to be somebody. And it fit in perfectly with the Reagan.
Or be hot.
Or be gorgeous.
Yeah.
It fit in perfectly with the Reagan era values of money and celebrity obsession and excess and vanity. But then the 1987, the economy crashed.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, it did. Interest rates increased, blah, blah, blah. All these things that happen when economy crashes happened.
You're not going to go into that?
Do you want to hear about debt that had accumulated in the late 1980s began to catch up with people?
Did the Dow Jones Industrial Average move around a little bit?
That's right. The biggest bust in the okay. And then, of course, in 1987, the death of Andy Warhol. So it's kind of like this era came to a motherfucking end. Mm-hmm. And this led to the mega clubs closing down. And in their place, these smaller clubs popped up that were like, fuck the Reagan era values of excess. And also remember, this is pre-Giuliani New York. So this was kind of a fucking trash fire.
There was piles and piles of garbage on the street type of, it was that kind of thing where there was not so many cops and lots of garbage. It was
a very what's the word, like urban fucking anything goes insanity, you know, be yourself or be a homeless person on crack. Like it was just, there was a lot going on at the time. You didn't go there for tourist stuff. Tourists didn't go there.
Right. Nobody was really being tough on crime the way they like to become later.
Yeah. Look it up.
Yeah.
There's videos.
There's all kinds of elements to it.
Right. So before it became a family-friendly tourist trap. So there's the seedy anything goes attitude going on. So in 1984, into this world comes a 17-year-old kid from South Bend, Indiana. He arrives and begins hosting small events. And his name is Michael Alig. He says he knew he was gay since he was in kindergarten, but in fucking South Bend, Indiana, which probably isn't the most tolerant place in the 80s. So he never felt like...
nowhere was.
I mean, that's
really
true.
There was a very intolerant time.
Nowhere was tolerant. That's right. So he felt like he never fit in. He was effeminate, so he was an easy target. And his youth was just spent being bullied. Mm-hmm. And that included his father disapproving of him and eventually abandoning the family. His mom seems like she was fucking obsessed with him. In the Party Monster documentary, she talks about him and she's clearly just adores him.
Now, real quick question. Is the term shockumentary, am I supposed to have known that? Is that something that's happened before, or is it just this one?
I think it's like part of this is like, it's like Party Monster, the shockumentary. It's not just a document. You know what I mean?
Okay. But it's
part of the name of this movie.
Oh, got it.
So it's a documentary, but
there's not like a whole bunch of other shockumentaries I need to rent?
I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to get yelled at.
Got it.
I might be wrong. Mm-hmm. That's part of the name of this documentary. Okay.
Got it.
So Michael, so he's played, here's how to picture him. In the movie Party Monster, he's played by Macaulay Culkin.
Right.
Perfectly, right. I think. He's this skinny, gawky kid. His mother described him as an ornery little fellow and an instigator. So he's just always kind of this like troublemaker. He moved to New York and he was finally able to come out of the closet and be the weirdo self that he had always tried to hide. Mm-hmm. So Michael begins to frequent these anything goes clubs like Tunnel in Chelsea with a band of these misfit kids. They're all outsiders. They're fringe people from small towns who came to look for a group that would accept them. It almost seems like you would think of like art students, like a bunch of fucking artsy fuck everything. But like they had this playground of New York City in the 80s to do anything they wanted with.
So cool.
Yeah.
So also, like that's how a lot of like trends come about
Right.
are kids like that.
Right.
Like the outsiders that are doing whatever they want and doing drugs. And then they, for some reason, pick up a thing and put it around their neck and suddenly someone else sees it. And then that's the trend.
And
like,
they're doing it to eschew the fucking mainstream and fuck you to the mainstream. And then it becomes mainstream. And like everyone also remember, for all you fucking 20-year-olds out there, like there's no internet. There's no fucking, you maybe see some people in magazines doing these things, but you know, it's not, this isn't, you know, there's no internet to influence anyone.
Yeah, when you were trying to be cool in the 80s and 90s, you had to go out and earn it. Yeah. You had to go find where the cool people were, copy what they were doing, try to get in what they were doing, get the drugs they were doing. Like, it was all you had to be like man on the street about it. You couldn't just stay home and be like, oh no, I'm going to get that same tattoo or whatever. You had to really, and also that was back when like being a poser was a real threat. You didn't ever want to be seen as a poser. Yeah. It's all very cliquey.
So, okay. So they're given the moniker the Club Kids. And Alig, it's like this mini movement of these outlandishly dressed partygoers. They get inspiration from punk, S&M, and clown styles. I read in one article, which like kind of is perfect. They look like these circus freaks from the future trying to look like vintage circus freaks a lot of the time.
I mean, to me, that just says you did your drugs before you got ready. So like instead of getting ready to go out and then doing drugs on your way out, you did your drugs like at 3 p.m. Yeah. And then you started going, what if I paint my whole head red?
But here's the thing. In the beginning, and for a lot of years, the drugs weren't really a thing. Like in all of these early videos that they have of them online, they're drinking vodka and orange juice. Like drugs were not part of the scene at the beginning. It was almost this like, you know, it was like what's the word? Performance art, and that's what fueled them. So maybe they fucking did a bump here and there, but like mostly it was just drinking
and kind of just being like, hey, here's my crazy outfit.
Yeah,
and fuck you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very fuck you, but the drugs weren't really there yet. So they fucking got ready, not on drugs, probably drunk, which explains the painting your face red too.
I was just trying to relate it to how it used to be for me when I would end up in some kind of weird turtleneck with a vinyl dress shit that I would always do.
Eyeliner up to your fucking ears.
And then, maybe I'll take an hour and pluck all my eyebrows off because I'm on speed. Not above it.
They're given the moniker Club Kids. They wear over-the-top outfits. They're often homemade or assembled from thrift store costumes, which, like, can you imagine the New York City in the 80s thrift stores? I would die. The outfits were unique and crazy, and they, like, showed expressions of who they were. One person just fucking wore a chicken mascot costume.
That's taking the easy way out.
I mean, look, do your best. Alig was accompanied by people like familiar names like RuPaul fucking grew out of this neighborhood area. Amanda Lepore, of course, who's the gorgeous woman. And then they all made up.
And James St. James. I know he's in there.
He's absolutely in this story.
If you have never gone onto the World of Wonder website, which is basically the production company that makes RuPaul's Drag Race and a bunch of other stuff. In the early days of the internet, I lived for that website. Everything, all the good videos were on there. They had everything first. They knew all the memes first. Yeah. It was the coolest. I haven't gone on it as much anymore.
Like in all of these documentaries, the James St. James part where they like cut to him and he starts talking is like, it's the best part. Like everyone shut up. He's talking.
He's everything. He's everything.
So they made up names for themselves. There's this girl named Jenny Talia, and I just love that so much. I just love that.
This is right up your alley.
This is like, I fucking emulated this so hard. I can't even tell you. Like, I wanted to go to New York to live with these people.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Ernie the Pea Drinker. There's Junkie Jonathan and Woody the dancing amputee. Yes. And they also push boundaries of drag and fashion, and they were just fucking out there. So the Club Kids are led by Michael Alig, known as, he's like the king of the Club Kids. He's like the fucking Pied Piper, they call him. And his mentor / rival, I read in this magazine, the equally flamboyant James St. James.
Yes. I'm on his side.
Yes. You didn't do anything. Oh, right. Yes, you should be. They're known for flamboyant behavior, outrageous costumes. In 1988, so Village Voice writer and frequent party guest Michael Musto wrote about the club kids. He was just like this not as flamboyant dude who just kind of like hung out with them and wrote about it, which is pretty great. He said they are terminally superficial, have dubious aesthetic values, and are master manipulators, exploiters, and thank God, partiers.
Yes.
The club kids aesthetic, it was the emphasized the outrageous fabulousness. Gender fluid was a thing. And though not everyone was gay, their scene had an LGBT bent and was popular among the drag queens. And it was kind of just this thing of like, we finally have our place where we get a fucking, you know, all these people come from small towns. We get to actually like go over the top. We've been fucking hiding this for years.
Yes.
Let's be ourselves.
And
and normal fucking people and the preppies who used to not let us into Club 54 and shit, they're not fucking allowed in here.
That's right. And I think that's also at the nearing the end of the AIDS epidemic.
Well, yeah, I was just going to talk about that.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I literally, the next fucking sentence is, this was in the midst of the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah.
And I was going to tell you to please jump in at any moment because I know you know this too. And that may have helped us drive the party scene because Michael once said there was a prevailing sense that you and your friends might not be around this time next week. So enjoy the now. We party too hard, drank too much, and laughed too loud.
Yeah.
So
there's real reason behind that. It's like, you can say it's superficial. You can say that it's
right.
That they're being,
it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. But actually there's very strong, it's almost that thing where the AIDS epidemic forced so many people to deal with their mortality in the literal way, with their friends dying left and right, and
a government who truly doesn't give a shit.
Didn't give a shit and did nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, why not say fuck you and put on crazy pants and go do whatever you want.
Yeah. Live your life right now while you fucking can.
Yeah.
The group became an artistic and fashion conscious youth culture. And so it's all experimental. The club kids become a force that the media fucking became obsessed with, of course, because they're just so over the top. Michael and the club kids appear on several talk shows, including Geraldo, which you can totally watch online. Yeah. I remember watching it at my fucking house as a kid. I think it was in they were on a couple times that I remember being like 12 or 13. So like right on the cusp of when I was going to say fuck it to. And I was just like, well, I need to go to fucking New York immediately.
Yeah.
And in 1990, the biggest, so Michael's doing his thing. He's making a name for himself. He's going to these parties. They're having this fun. And then in 1990, the biggest club owner in the city named Peter Gatien puts Michael in charge as the promoter for his string of downtown clubs, which included this club called the Limelight. You know that Gothic revival fucking crazy like multi-building church in New York that you drive by and you're in a cab and you're like, what in the fuck is that?
Yeah.
That was a club in the fucking 80s and 90s.
I know.
How insane is that?
It's the best. Also,
it's a gym now. Doesn't it make you want to cry?
No, really?
I mean, last I read it was. That could be something else now.
That's so the teens, the 20 teens.
Yeah.
That was the job I wanted.
The promoter was such a weird, you were like, well, what do you do?
But all I knew is you had to hand out flyers and you got way more money than should be given to people handing out flyers.
Right.
But part of it was being beautiful, fashionable, edgy. You had to be the kind of person that if somebody gave you a flyer, you'd want to go to the party they were having.
That's exactly right. I remember girls in high school being like, I'm dating a promoter. And I'd be like, what is that?
Yeah. And who cares? But then you meet the promoter and you're like, I want to be with you forever.
Right. So he becomes this promoter because he is like the fucking top dog, whatever. So Michael got to just throw these lavish parties. He would pick, paid for. He would pick a theme, hire a DJ, make sure all his fabulous friends would show up. He'd pay them to show up.
Wow.
So suddenly they were getting paid to go fucking clubbing. Or go to parties, as you weren't supposed to call it a rave. You call them going to a party.
Why? Because the cops would bust them?
Maybe it just sounded cooler. Cool. Yeah, I don't know. So when all his wild friends would show up with fucking, painted red heads and diapers and with their nipples X'd out with fucking masking tape and, like all these incredible things, a candle fucking stuck on their head or whatever. That all these people wanted to go to these clubs to watch them because they were like kind of getting famous in the like, you know, because the news would cover them and shit.
And because we love people who don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's what a relief it is when you see a person like that. That's like, yeah, I don't care. You can't, there's nothing you can do. Like, it's such a good feeling when you're around people who are all like, yeah, fuck it.
I don't care. Well, Michael Musto from the fucking Village Voice talks a lot about how like before this, everyone was on their best behavior and wanted to look the coolest and be the coolest and just be like, you know, perfect.
That
and then,
preppy bullshit.
Yeah. And then fucking Michael came along and he was a dick kind of. He'd pee in drinks and make people drink it.
But that's not Woody the peer. What's that guy's name?
Maybe it's because he
the pee drinker.
Yeah, maybe because he drank pee. Like all these things that he did, he was like kind of a dick, but everyone like he was like a child that nobody. There's one thing that I read about where he got hepatitis and made it into a party.
Oh no!
And like tried to kiss as many people as he could to give. He was just like he was literally a party monster.
Yeah, he was a true party monster.
He just didn't care about anyone, and everyone loved that about him. There was no feeling like he just was there to have a good time.
Yep.
As Vince says, we're here for a good time, not a long time.
That guy.
I mean, okay, so he scene. Okay, people would be there. He'd draw crowds to these venues, and the club kids began holding. They also, a way to promote these actual parties would be that they would have these what now we know as flash mobs, but then with guerrilla style parties, they called then outlaw parties. So they'd show the fuck up at a Dunkin' Donuts, like 200 deep, or a fucking Burger King, and just take over and ruin these poor people who work there at night, like, for sure, and just have so much fun and party and put music on and shit. They did one in the subway and like, and they do it until, you know, the cops would come, which was like their highlight of the night. And then they go to this club that was already ready for it. So it was just these like flash mobs in a way. So he loved all this attention he got. Okay. So there's a pee drinker. There was a woman who went on stage and gave herself a champagne enema.
Great. So healthy.
Hepatitis.
It's good for the flora and fauna in your gut.
Don't try that at home. It was just like these people. It just really seemed like performance art for everyone, but in a club setting.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, Michael and the club kids didn't really fuck with drugs, as I said. But then ecstasy came along. As Michael just explains it felt like a drug for people who didn't do drugs because it wasn't some like fucking cut crazy snorty drug. It was like pharmaceutical made in a lab, and it made you feel spiritual. So it didn't feel like you were doing drugs.
Which is and I say this any chance I get, the problem with pills is that you can tell yourself you're not a drug addict and you can just take a bunch of fucking pills and suddenly you're different, but you can't tell because you didn't snort it and you didn't like
it was my prescription. It was prescribed to me.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden you're on the other side of pill behavior. Yeah. Not really knowing what's going on.
Right.
It's so dangerous.
Yes. 100%.
And it's become so normalized now. It's
so normal.
Really frightening.
Yeah. It's horrible. So Michael, of course, and his followers then begin using drugs heavily, which is what happens when you start taking drugs.
Well, and when you party for a living. I mean, it's part of the reason when I was hospitalized for alcoholism, I tried to explain to the doctor, I'm like, I'm a comic. I'm in a club every night. Yeah. We all drink 8 drinks a night.
If I don't stay and hang out and party with them, I won't get booked on shows.
Yeah. It's like the yin yang of the whole lifestyle. But when that's your lifestyle, then you're truly living it. And it's very hard on the system.
It is, definitely. So he began, so Michael, who's kind of in charge of these clubs, begins adding drug dealers to, he was paying people to come to the clubs, like his friends who are club kids. He adds drug dealers to the payroll of Michael, this guy, Peter Gation. He's like, add this guy to the payroll, add that guy. So they're fucking drug dealers getting paid like an hourly rate to fucking be there, which is bananas.
Well, wasn't that I might be wrong about this, but at the Hacienda, weren't the doormen the drug dealers?
Oh, I don't know. I
feel like there was some kind of similar thing like that where it just became part of the business.
Yeah. Which seems so normal when you're like in it. So they become all addicted to drugs like Coke, Rohypnol, Special K, which of course is a fucking horse tranquilizer.
And you can fall into a K-hole, which means the ground goes away.
Sounds like a nightmare.
It sounds like, that's the thing, also those drugs where you take one pill and then you're out of it for hours. Yeah. I hate that.
When I used to go to raves, when I was young, and this is like 95. So this is by the time anything hits Orange County, it's fucking played out. So like I was on the end cusp of this shit, but it wasn't in Orange. It was in Los Angeles. But, yeah, man, there would just be people wandering around, you know, selling drugs. Like it was out and about. No one gave a shit.
Yeah. Horse tranquilizers, everybody.
Horse tranquilizers. Thank God I never tried those. And eventually everyone's fucking favorite, heroin.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. So one of these club kids who was just super into the scene was named Andre Melendez, and his like club name was Angel, and that's because he wore these different kinds of ornate, beautiful angel wings. That was his thing. His like, you know, what's it called? Look. He had immigrated from Colombia to New York as a child, and he lived in Queens. And like Michael, he had tried to make a name for himself and found the club kids a good place to do it. And he wanted to be accepted by Michael especially, and the club kids. So to do so, he started dealing drugs as his ticket in. And whenever it's this thing of like, if you look a little deeper than the basic articles, it says like Michael, Alig killed the drug dealer Angel, you know, Melendez. But it's like, well, he wasn't a drug dealer at first. It wasn't just that he was like there to deal drugs. He actually was a club kid who loved the scene, loved the people. He was part of it. Dealing drugs was his way to to get people to like him.
Yeah, and then make a name for himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just a drug dealer. So he eventually got put on the Limelight payroll as well. And Angel idolized Michael, so he let him get away with a lot. And of course, Michael took advantage of him like fucking crazy, including like stealing drugs from him. There was one account, according to James St. James, that during a snowstorm where they broke into Angel's stash and did $3,000 to $4,000 worth of Angel's drugs. And James St. James was like, how are you going to tell Angel? And then Angel walks in and Michael's like, we did your drugs. Like, just fuck you. Do something about it.
I feel like I have 4 stories like that. That's the thing too, is when you start to get into that very bizarre lifestyle, you just do things like you don't care anymore. After a while, you just only care about getting high.
I mean, it sounds like he had some narcissistic tendencies to begin with, and then you put in drugs and fame, and goodbye. You're fucking you don't give a shit.
Yeah. You're like, it's me from the Limelight.
Yeah, you know, you can't get in here without me. Yeah. Which is true. Like, he could fucking ban whoever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah, that's a lot of control.
Yes. So, escalating drug use and overdoses and more cases of AIDS among the club kids kind of starts. And then new Mayor Rudy Giuliani's crackdown on nightlife in Manhattan starts to lead to the beginning of the end of the club kids. So, in September 1995, hey, I was 15 and probably at a rave. Hey. Limelight is raided by federal agents and shut down because they were using drugs so openly and rampantly. Like it was just this, you walk in and you get a bump of coke. Like it's just everywhere. It's not a big deal to anyone.
I'm so sad I wasn't there. so sad.
All right. So Angel, who'd been working at the club, he gets fired. So he's pissed about that. He thinks that he's owed money. And on top of that, by 1996, Michael was a full-blown fucking junkie.
Okay.
He's injecting heroin every day. And as his addiction grows, his demand for drugs from Angel grows, and Angel just starts to get resentful and feels used. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't get into Limelight anymore, and that pissed him off a lot too.
Wait, sorry, Angel or Michael?
Angel couldn't get in anymore. Michael's living the fucking high life. Angel gets fired because of the drug raid, and he's a drug dealer.
Ugh.
Yeah.
And so he's just pushed out.
Yes.
That sucks.
Yes.
But also, let me just say too, just the way this trajectory is the story of all drug stories. Yep. It starts fun. As my mom used to say, it's going to end in tears.
Yeah. You're
laughing now, but this is going to end in tears.
I mean, the difference in... I highly recommend people watching The Shockumentary because... you can see that from the videos in the beginning, it's these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, fucking cool, like, you know, smart kids who are like leading this incredible revolution. And by the end, it's like dark circles under their eyes and no one's smiling and it's just addicted to drugs. And that's what drugs do. It just like, it becomes about you go to parties because you need to get drugs, not because you are so happy to be around these people that are like-minded and, you know.
Right, because it's not fun
anymore.
You're not having real experiences anymore. No. You're not like, oh my God, I love dancing and it feels great to do this thing. You're just like drugs.
Or even like, I want to be famous. It's like not that anymore either. It's just this negative thing.
Yeah.
So around this time, Michael Alig throws a themed party called Blood Feast. This is just an aside. It's named after a horror movie that he had loved as a child, that he had watched with his mother as a child. His mother was obsessed with watching horror movies and like watched them with him, which also Joe DeRosa's mom did.
Love that.
I talked to her about it once and she told me that she just wanted someone to watch with because she was scared. So she put her 4-year-old child next to her.
I do love it though when parents like get their kids into movies at a young age, whatever style they like. I don't care. But
so in the movie Blood Feast, this dude kills people and dismembers his victims. That's what the fucking horror movie's about.
Sounds like a real blood feast.
Exactly. And in the flyer for the event, my favorite club kid, Jenny Talia, she's this like, she just looks like she's what I wanted to be when I was that age.
Sure.
Yeah. She's holding a hammer to hit Michael's head and it looks like it's all bloody and gross. It's like, this is going to be the gore party. Like they had these insane parties. This was going to be the gore one. The phrase legs cut off is like all these crazy phrases like that are on the flyer. And then I write all caps foreshadowing.
Okay. Got it. Yes.
All
I'm
caps,
seeing it.
Foreshadowing. So on Sunday, March 17th, 1996, Angel shows up at Michael and his roommate, Robert Riggs, who's known as Freeze, who looks like the devil, kind of, but like the hot devil.
So he had a goatee. And
just
a little trident.
Yes.
And he liked deviled ham.
What's the guy's name? Remember the movie? This is so random. Remember the movie Go?
Yes.
And the drug dealer from that movie?
Yes.
What's his name? Steven's got it.
Timothy Oliphant?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've done it again.
That was amazing.
Done it again.
You're scaring Elvis.
Sorry, but I've done it again. Timothy Oliphant. Also, I just recently watched The Girl Next Door, which when it came out real time, I was like, this is sexist and against women. It's one of the better movies I've ever seen.
What?
And Timothy Oliphant is so hot in it. And he's playing this like kind of scummy guy, whatever, that shows up, and he shows up at the boys' high school, and he's like in a cool car, and he's just like this badass guy, and he's talking to these two girls, and the boy comes out like, what are you doing here? And he turns to the boys, the lead boy, and goes, hey, you didn't tell me you had some real burners at this school. And I laughed for so long. The idea of calling hot girls burners, maybe that was just for me. You've got to see it. It's so good. He's so good.
Okay.
And then goes on to become the sheriff of fucking Deadwood.
Right.
Calling no one burners.
No, you don't
but
do
loving
that,
the widow. Okay.
Also watch the movie Go if you want to watch like what my life was kind of like at that time.
Go's a great movie
It's
too.
a really good movie, and that's what my life was kind of like. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so fucking Elephant's nickname is Freeze, and he looks like the devil.
Okay.
So they're at Michael and Freeze's apartment in Hell's Kitchen. Angel shows up at like 9 a.m, and of course, not one of them has slept the night before.
Yeah.
They've all been taking drugs all fucking night, and Angel,
the grossest feeling of all time.
Disgusting. Angel is pissed off, like trying to track down this money he's owed. He is like demanding this money. This argument ensues between Michael and Angel, and it becomes violent. And Angel, this is all according to Freeze and Michael. So please take this with however you feel like. Whatever.
Like nobody's told Angel's side of the story because Angel's the only one that could have done it.
Yeah. So take this with various levels of spice. He pins Michael. Michael cries out for help. So Freeze grabs a hammer and hits Angel over the head with it 3 times.
And sorry to ask this now, but this was after that
Yes.
blood and gore party?
Yes.
Ugh, okay. Awful.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah.
3 times he gets disoriented, according to Freeze, but he's also still pissed off. So Freeze grabs him from behind, and there's a lot of different stories, so it's kind of hard to tell which one they're fucking sticking with.
Okay.
And Michael grabs either a pillow or a sweatshirt and puts it over Angel's face, and they smother him, and he dies.
Whoa.
And then again, depending on whose story, Michael takes a cleanser or a chemical or Drano or something, puts it down his fucking throat, and uses duct tape to duct tape his mouth shut. And I think he's already fucking dead then, thank God. And Michael says that it was because he wanted to cover up the smell. But it's just like hard to know what really happened.
Right. Yeah, I get that.
Because that all fits in if you're gonna argue self-defense.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So the two, Freeze and Michael, then strip Angel's body, place it in the bathtub, and they put ice all over it and chemicals all over it to mask the smell. It stays there for 5 to 7 days.
Oh, God.
I know. Until Freeze purchases some chef's knife and a cleanser, and a cleaver at Macy's. I don't know why that tidbit needed to stay in there, but I just found it kind of interesting.
And the Macy's home department.
Yeah, like the person who sold them that was like, enjoy your dinner.
And then it's like a guy with a lightning bolt across his face. It's like, thanks so much.
With fucking heroin junkie eyes and shit.
Needle hanging out of his arm.
Yay.
Thanks, I'm making salad.
Oy vey.
Tell your friends.
So Michael's like, okay, I'll take care of this. You have to get me 10 bags of heroin so I can get as fucked up as possible. I don't want to be fucking, conscious for this shit.
Oh,
and then he's like,
no.
and I was kind of hoping I would die of a heroin overdose too.
Oh.
So, I mean, that's what he fucking says. But, so he's on all this heroin.
I bet he does though.
Yeah. He's on all this heroin, and he removes Angel's legs. He cuts them fucking off, just like the Bloodbath movie. What was it called?
Blood Feast.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And he removes Angel's legs. He wraps them in garbage bags and then places them in a duffel bag. And then those are dumped in the Hudson River and they sink. But then the following day, they wrap the rest of Angel's body in a sheet and plastic garbage bag, and they place it in a cardboard box. They take it down to a fucking waiting taxi, put it in the trunk. They drive to the West Side Highway, to Hudson River, and by some instances get the cab driver to help them throw the box over. Like, obviously the cab driver doesn't know what's in it.
Yeah, right.
Help them throw the box over the side of the highway into the river. Of course. And then they watch as it doesn't sink and kind of just sails off, and they're like, oh shit.
And on drugs.
And Angel, when he was murdered, was only 25 years old.
Oh God.
So Michael, whatever reason, can't fucking keep quiet about it. Maybe he's so horrified by what he's done. Maybe it doesn't seem real in his head because he's on drugs. Maybe he's fucking doesn't think it's a big deal. Like, who knows why? Or maybe he wants to get caught.
Right.
Yeah. But he doesn't keep quiet, and he tells people about it, and rumors start flying. And in the scene, everyone kind of knows what happened, although they're like, that sounds too outlandish about the Drano and shit. But it all ends up being true. And so it becomes an open secret in the club community. But everyone's loyal as fuck to Michael, and no one tells the police. So Angel's brother, Johnny, starts to get worried when he doesn't hear from his brother. And of course, they only had pagers back then. So He's not answering his fucking page. And he finally goes to clubs to try to track down his brother and can't find him. The police, he says, barely bothered to fill out a missing persons report and didn't really give a shit. So he had to fucking start investigating on his own. Post flyers all over the city of Angel, a photo of Angel with his angel wings and everything, trying to find his brother. He breaks down in the fucking documentary, and it's really fucking sad.
I bet.
Yeah. So he spends the next few months. Okay. So Michael spends the next few months high as fuck, traveling in and out of the city. He's still throwing parties, but people aren't really going to them. And meanwhile, with the help of the media, Johnny's able to get Angel's disappearance out, and like it becomes front page news articles in the New York Magazine and the New York Post, which is like the best magazine for shit like this. Michael Musto post a blind item in the Village Voice that's basically like Club Kid. Which Club Kid murdered? Like talks about it.
No,
because he's horrified.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
well, that's the best way to deal with a murder.
Absolutely.
Is just to gossip.
Put a blind item in a newspaper.
Just gossip it away.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. So in a month after the murder, in March 1996, so there's a tropical storm, which makes everything wash up onto shore. And a group of children at a beach at Miller Field in Staten Island discover a box containing the dismembered remains, which 8 months later are linked to Angel.
Wow.
It took 8 months because he was misidentified as an Asian male by the morgue.
Can I just ask really quick? Did you mean Staten Island?
What did I say?
Stanton Island.
Jesus. Stanton Island.
Stanton Island.
God.
I was like, now I don't want to act like I'm some expert about the boroughs or anything.
What is that? How did my brain do that?
But you're trying to explain something.
I am.
Wow. Okay. But you're saying that the remains were found and then 8 months later he was identified,
Yes.
but it wasn't eight months.
No, a month later he's found.
Okay.
And then 8 months later, like another body washes up and a cop who actually was involved in Angel's case puts it together. That, you know, it all gets put together.
Got it.
But it's partly because the boroughs didn't communicate with each other, of course, but also he was misidentified as an Asian male.
Okay.
Whatever.
Right.
So with identification, police are now involved. This whole time, Michael hadn't been questioned once about the disappearance, despite the rumors. He had fled to New Jersey at this point, where
You can't get away in New Jersey.
No. 9 months after the murder of Angel, Michael Alig is arrested on December 5th, 1996, and Freeze is arrested the same day.
Wow.
And Freeze just fucking talks immediately. They both just like...
That's so Freeze.
So Freeze. So Alig insisted to the police that he and Freeze had killed Angel in self-defense and disposed of the body in a panic. And he had photos of bruises that he had on him after the fight too.
So he was not high. He was not so high that he couldn't take pictures of his own bruises.
He couldn't go to a lawyer and get pictures taken 2 weeks after or like a week after.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So here's just like weird things. Prosecutors were hesitant to charge Michael with first-degree murder because they hoped he would testify against his former boss, Peter Gation, who they had arrested for allowing drugs to be sold in his nightclub. So the fucking DA or the feds want to get this guy, Peter Gation, on all these fucking drug charges. So they don't want to like throw the book at Michael because they need him to be a fucking credible witness. And if he's a fucking first-degree murderer, they can't put him on the stand
And they don't prioritize the murder as a worse crime than selling drugs in clubs.
They don't.
Wow.
So they eventually offer Michael and Freeze a plea deal, a sentence of 10 to 20 years if they accept the lesser charge of manslaughter, which they do. Side note, Peter Gation charges are all eventually dropped.
Yeah.
So it didn't fucking matter anyways.
Because he's a big rich guy, right?
Well, because they couldn't prove anything at that point. So they could have fucking charged him. I don't know. But also, you know, who knows?
Rich guy.
Who knows what happened? On October 1st, 1997, they both plead guilty and sentenced to 10 to 20 years. Freeze is released after 13 years in 2010. Michael becomes eligible for parole in October 2006, but he claims that the parole board watched the movie Party Monster that had been made in 2003, which portrayed him very poorly.
Yes.
And decided to keep him in after watching it.
Oh.
Yeah. So he eventually serves 17 years and was released on May 5th, 2014. And regarding the 2003 movie Party Monster, which everyone should watch, it's fucking good.
It's really good. Wait, is Sean Green the other person in that movie?
And Chloe Sevigny is in it as well.
Sean Green is... I just for 4 minutes watched Gold Member.
Seth Green.
Sorry, Seth Green. Sean Green is a stand-up comic I know who's very funny. Seth Green, I watched a little bit of Gold Member, Austin Powers and Gold Member the other day, purely because of how fucking funny that guy is.
Yeah.
And he has been... I think he might also be in Go.
Yes, he is.
He is. Right, Steven? Back me up, goddammit, Steven. Why won't you?
He is.
I think he is. Or I might be thinking of Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah, I think
anyway,
because he plays like a raver club kid in that movie.
Oh, is that what I'm doing?
Oh,
Yeah, he's not in Go.
yes.
Fuck you both.
You take your pure elephant and you shove it up your ass, Karen.
I haven't done it again. Shit. But anyway, that guy's, I feel like he has been a massive talent since he's like 5 years old.
Yeah.
He is so talented and continues to be with fucking
Robot chicken?
I was going to call it freeway chicken. Good night, Grandma.
Seth Green, everyone.
Seth Green, everybody.
Okay, so the movie where are we? Poo poo.
Pooty poo?
Party Monster is based on the 1999 memoir Disco Bloodbath by none other than James St. James.
Yeah.
This is how we do it. So Michael Ehrlich is now 52 years old. He says he doesn't like the way he's portrayed in the movie because he says it's one-dimensional. So Angel, who's played by Wilson Cruz
From My So-Called Life.
right, it turns him into a minor side character.
Yes.
If Angel Melendez hadn't been murdered, he would be 57 years old right now. And that's the Party Monster murder of Angel Melendez.
God, that's so... I mean, the fact that like he's... Michael Ehrlich. Yeah. He served his time. Like that so rarely happens where it's a famous murder.
Yeah.
Where the person goes to jail, serves their time and comes back out and then like is able to speak again.
Yeah, it's hard to track down exactly what he's up to now. Like it seems like he's got all, trying a bunch of other, fashion line and art and like maybe trying to still do club promotions. And
Right.
It's just like hard to track it down. But I mean,
yeah, and it's hard to kind of know how to feel because it was this, when you talk about a time like that, it's all so surreal and the behavior is so surreal. And then the drug element makes it all very kind of like, there's a kooky element to it. But at the end of the day, there's a really tragic murder. And then just, again, we've talked about this a bunch of times, but like when people have to dismember or they're able to dismember human beings, it's so far beyond anywhere I even want to think about being.
Totally.
It's just nightmarish to me.
Totally. Yeah, it is really sad. And then you think of all the club kids now and like looking back and being like, we just like went off the deep end. This could have been this great movement of, and it did like, it influenced so many people now, like fucking Lady Gaga. She wouldn't exist without this club kid movement. And
sure,
they talk about like Marilyn Manson was like directly influenced by, all this shit.
Yeah.
Georgia Hardstark wouldn't have worn fucking vinyl pants and stacked shoes.
That's right.
To raves if it hadn't been for this. So
I tried to wear stacked shoes one time and I can still feel myself going down on the sidewalk in San Francisco,
Your
like
ankle.
walking home from a bar and just you take one weird step on mine were Mary Jane's and my friend would call me Little Frankenstein when I wore them because that's exactly what I looked like.
Totally.
And you take one wrong move in those things and you're down.
Your ankle goes out from underneath you. You land on your whatever this bone is. And you look like a stupid fucking idiot.
You look like a goddamn goon.
So that's that.
Wow, that was good.
Thank you.
I'm surprised we haven't done that one yet. That one is it's so infamous and kind of like its own little world.
Well, I didn't realize how I thought about it a long time ago, but I didn't realize how it just seems so hard to wrap my head around and like express exactly what the time and place was like. But then my friend Crystal Langham, thank you, reminded me of it. And so I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, mine this week comes because I drove up to Petaluma to be there for my old sister Laura's 50th birthday.
Laura.
And so she ended up having a birthday week, which is kind of hilarious.
You're allowed to do that when you're turning 50.
Yeah, I think it was big. So she had like a dinner at my dad's house, and then I drove up, and then we went to the Twin Oaks, which is this rad bar between Petaluma and Sebastopol, and that's like used to be old and scary, and it was like kind of a locals only, just don't go in there. Mm-hmm. And now they've redone it, and it's really awesome, and they have really good bands. The band that played there that night was really good. Anyway. I love driving to Petaluma because I love anytime I get to leave Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And the time I spend on the 5 between LA and Petaluma is so soothing because it's just like, you know, sometimes I talk to you on the phone a bunch, make some phone calls,
fall asleep for a little while,
just zone out, smell all the smells that are out there to be smelled. Every different type of livestock shit you would like to smell is there for you to smell.
You go to yourself, I should be vegetarian. Every time you drive that drive.
That's right. And then if you're on the 99, you might hit a patch of rose smells. You might hit a patch of really strong onion smell. It's it's an exciting way to live.
All your olfactory senses are being triggered.
Do you like smells that you can't control? So anyway, but my newest thing is, on both the way up and the way back, I was just binge listening once again to Criminal with Phoebe Judge. And I just love that show so much. But there was one episode, and it inspired this week's murder for me. Because it's the story and hearing it the way Phoebe Judge told it, it's all from the point of view of the wife, Melinda Elkins, but we've seen it as a Forensic Files and I think an American Justice, and it's the story of Clarence Elkins.
I don't remember this one yet.
Okay, so let me tell you all about it.
Tell me.
June 7th, 1998.
I'm going to buzz in when I know what you're talking about.
Okay, great. Stephen, are you picking up that buzz slap?
Sounds good.
Great. June 7th, 1998. It's in Barberton, Ohio. So this is a suburb of Akron, Ohio. Okay. On the morning of June 7th, 1998, a woman named Melinda Elkins, she's puttering around the house, and her son comes running into the house saying there are police outside in SWAT gear running out of the woods and at their house.
Can you picture that? People.
I mean, first of all, just the boy outside, I'm not sure how old he was, but I like to think he was 8. Because that would be the most impact if you were standing in your yard, like throwing something against a wall board, and you look over and just a SWAT team comes running out of the woods.
Mommy, there's a SWAT team.
There's
he
a
knows
SWAT
what
team.
a SWAT team is.
Yeah, exactly. He knows all the terminology. So Melinda goes running out of her house and going, what's going on? And they tell her that her 58-year-old mother, Judith Johnson, has been stabbed to death, and that her 6-year-old niece, Brooke, who was staying the night at her grandma's, Judith's, was raped, beaten, and left for dead.
Oh my God.
And as Melinda is trying to take in this information, she looks over the cop's shoulder who's talking to her and sees her husband, Clarence Elkins, getting handcuffed and stuffed into the back of a cop car.
Oh no.
And this is when she learns that her niece, Brooke, her 6-year-old niece, who was horribly attacked, identified her uncle, Clarence, who is Melinda's husband, as the murderer. So
can I do a light tap? This sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so what happened was Judy and Brooke were attacked, they think somewhere between 2:30 and 5:30 in the morning at Judy's home. Judy was beaten so badly that initially the authorities thought that she'd been stabbed to death. But it was just she was beaten with a blunt instrument so badly that the wounds were so deep that they thought they were knife wounds.
Oh my God.
She was also raped and sodomized, and Brooke, the 6-year-old, heard something going on, so she ran out to see and saw her grandmother lying dead. She ran back into the room she was staying, got into bed to hide. Oh. The man came in to the room and began to beat her. She passed out. Then she was raped. And then she was left for dead and beaten and left for dead.
God.
She woke up around 7 a.m. And she called a family friend, and she left a message on that person's answering machine saying, "I'm sorry to tell you this, but my grandma died and I need somebody to get my mom for me. I'm all alone. Somebody killed my grandma. Now, please, would you get a hold of me as soon as you can? Bye."
Oh.
Can you imagine getting that answering machine message? It's so haunting. And then she walks next door to the next door neighbors in her bloody nightgown and knocks on the next door neighbor's door and asks for help. a woman named Tanya Brazel answers the door, and she lived there with her common-law husband, Earl Mann, and their children. And Tanya tells Brooke that she's making breakfast for her kids, but if she'll just wait on the porch, she'll help her. 45 minutes later.
Wait, what?
She drives Brooke home. Yes. Just dog ear that. So Brooke's mother, April, is Melinda Elkin's sister. So this is basically Clarence's sister-in-law, April, and his niece, Brooke.
Got it.
And it's Melinda's sister. So they have different last names now because they're both married. But Melinda and April are sisters.
Okay.
So on the way home, Brooke tells this woman, Tanya, the neighbor, that the man who attacked her and killed her grandmother looked like her Uncle Clarence. And so when they arrive at April's house, Tanya tells April that Brooke had said it was her Uncle Clarence who attacked her. So when Melinda is told all this by the authorities, she knows that it's impossible.
Yeah.
Because on the evening of the attack, Clarence was at home. He went outside. He built a bonfire in the yard. And then he decided he was going to go out with friends to some local bars. So he was out drinking with his friends till 2:30 in the morning. And she knows for sure that he came home at 2:30 in the morning because their son was sick and she was up with him. And so when he came in, she was up. And they talked, and then Clarence went to bed at 3 a.m. and Melinda stayed up pretty much for the rest of the night with their sick child.
Yeah.
And so she told the police, there's no way he could have left again without me knowing.
Right.
And he certainly couldn't have driven the 1 hour trip to my mom's house and then driven 1 hour back and been gone for over 2 hours without me noticing because I was up all night and I would have noticed that he was gone.
And when people build a bonfire on the night of a murder, it's just, it has to be bad luck if you didn't do it.
For real. We're straight at making a murderer.
I hear a bonfire, I'm like, they did it.
Yeah. It's not, but the problem is if you live out in the country, which I'm assuming, I don't know the suburbs of Akron well enough, but building a bonfire is just like, oh yeah, go burn that shit, or just something like, because there's nothing else to do, just go stand around a fire and drink beer.
Yeah,
like it's pretty common.
Okay.
We also used to do it at my friend Bradford's house. He somehow fashioned a burn barrel where we would bring like old checkbooks that you didn't need anymore, things that
like a shredder,
like a shredder, but you could just burn it. And someone once brought the box that their huge new Mac like desk monitor came in. So it was like a 4-foot cardboard box, and they put it in the barrel and it went up, and the flames went so high that the fire department ended up coming to his house and being like, you guys, you're in Hollywood, like you can't.
And this was in Hollywood?
Yes, this was in the backyard of like a duplex right off of Highland.
Oh my God.
And the fire department's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
this isn't fucking the sticks. Okay.
More like, we're just trying to enjoy ourselves. Anyway.
Don't be a bummer, man.
In defense of bonfires. Okay. So this is the other thing. Melinda has known her husband since she was young. They got married when they were 18 years old. And she's just like, he is not this person. Yeah. He is not the person. He's not going to snap. He's never been an abusive person. He's not like that in any way. So all of a sudden and even though she says they did not have an ideal marriage, they did fight, and she would go over to her mom's house and spend the night. That happened, often. She said it wasn't ideal, but it was just like any other marriage where that does happen. And she said her mom, although sometimes being disappointed in Clarence, loved him, and Clarence loved her mom. There was no ill feeling between them. And so she's like, she just knew in her heart it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And then also all of his movements were accounted for that night because he was either at home where she knew he was, or he was at bars around their town where all kinds of people swore that they saw him and knew he was there. And then he was back at home with her. So when the police came and searched Melinda and Clarence's home hours after the attack, and they found no blood evidence anywhere in the house. And due to the extreme nature, like I was saying, of Judy's wounds, and of Brooke's, there was no way that perpetrator didn't have blood all over him and all over his clothes.
And probably in the car, there's
everywhere.
Yeah.
So they would have found at least something somewhere, and there was not a trace. In fact, the authorities said the amount of blood would have actually been staggering because how bad it was at Judy Johnson's house.
Jesus.
But that didn't matter because there was an eyewitness to the crime, and that was Brooke, who said someone who looked like her Uncle Clarence. And I think also it's, we've heard about this in other similar types of cases, but I feel like if I was somebody who had to take a statement from a 6-year-old who had been raped and beaten and left for dead, I mean, traumatized beyond belief, if she tells you she saw the person, you believe her.
Yes.
And you want to give her justice and make this end.
But the phrase, he looks like my Uncle Clarence, it means he was that tall. He was the same build. He had the same voice.
It's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially from a small child who can't explain a person. It's like, this is the closest I can explain.
Exactly. Right. Right. But by the time it got to her taking a statement, her talking to the police, it was my Uncle Clarence.
Right.
And even though there was no physical evidence in any way linking Clarence Elkins to the scene of the crime, he was charged with aggravated murder, aggravated attempted murder, rape, and felonious assault. So 5 days after Judy and Brooke's attack, Melinda and her sister April bury their mother. They hold hands during the funeral, then they leave and they don't speak for 3.5 years. Because you have to think about, this is now your sister's husband killed your mother and raped and attacked your daughter, your child. Oh my God. And then on the other side of that, from Melinda's side, so that's April's side, Melinda's side of it, your husband is accused of killing your mother. Your mother's still dead.
And a child rapist.
And to your own niece, who you love probably as much as your own kids. So everybody loses terribly in this scenario from the get-go.
I'm trying to picture that, but it's like these two women need each other.
Right. But I mean, how could and it's your sister.
Yeah.
But this is it's a circumstance that's just beyond anyone's dealing. So at the trial, it began May 20th, 1999. It was in Akron, and Brooke is now 7 years old. She testifies that she saw her Uncle Clarence killing her grandma. The defense attorney argues the phone message that Brooke left in the morning of the attack says somebody killed her grandma. Then this somebody had turned into somebody who looked like Uncle Clarence. And then that eventually became, it was Uncle Clarence.
Yeah.
But because Brooke's eyewitness testimony is the only evidence presented, because it's the only evidence there is.
Really?
At the time. Because all the blood evidence, they don't have, they didn't, DNA wasn't where it eventually becomes. And so it's just, that's the only evidence that the prosecution presents. And so that's the only argument the defense can make. And, so the jury, and when Melinda, it goes on the stand to say, no, he was home with me and then he was out with his friends and they came back home. She tells her story. The prosecution basically makes her look like a stupid hick who's just lying and standing by her man.
Yeah.
And they humiliate her on the stand and basically make it seem like, well, you're just doing this for your husband.
You're not credible. Yeah.
Yeah. So the jury deliberates for 3 days. And on June 3rd, 1999, they find Clarence Elkins guilty of murder, 2 counts of rape, and 2 counts of assault. And he's given 2 life sentences.
Wow.
So when the trial ends, the prosecutor, turns and looks at Melinda Elkins and says, you're not going to see your husband for 54 years. And she looks back at him and says, you want to bet? Because she knows now that that he's been railroaded.
What a dick. Can I just say, that's unnecessary, dude. You just sent him away. You don't need to fucking say something like that.
But you have to think, they think it's a child rapist and a murderer that they're sending away. Yeah. They think that they're doing.
But she didn't do that.
Yeah, but they're, it's just that thing of like, they've cast everybody and they need to see people in this way because it's what happened. And it's so awful. I mean, like a living child that's there to say this horrible thing happened to me is like, that's going to turn everybody. It's going to get things extreme. Yeah. But Melinda knows, and Melinda, with the weight of the world on her shoulders. And this is, all of this part of the story is because Melinda tells her story on Criminal with Phoebe Judge, which, by the way, I thought of this joke where I can't wait to somehow, someday, and maybe you'll be there for it, get like a bill at a restaurant that's really expensive. And I'm going to go, I'm Phoebe Judge and this is Criminal. And I might stand up when I do it.
Oh my God.
Just saying.
I love it.
That hit me as I was driving. I'm like, that's going to be so funny. I didn't do the voice well enough then, but I'm just saying.
What do you think I am, Phoebe Judge? Because this is Criminal.
Because I'm
Who do you
Phoebe
think
Judge.
you think I'm Phoebe fucking Judge? Because this is,
Like Phoebe Judge suddenly starts talking like that. Yeah. Instead of just like this.
You think I'm Phoebe fucking Judge?
What do you think I am? Phoebe Judge? Because this is Criminal.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Phoebe Judge.
Oh my God. Yes.
So, amazing. But that episode of Criminal, Melinda gets to tell her own story. And Melinda basically is one of those women that I really love and adore who the shit is on her. The weight of the world is on her shoulders. And she's like, nah, I got to get busy. I got to start doing something. And so what she does is she starts looking up who all the sex offenders in the area were at the time of this attack.
That seems like something the cops should have done.
Right. But the cops had their guy and they did their job and they went, that's it. Yeah. And she was like, well, I got to be the cop now because no one's going to work on this.
I'm the daddy in this situation.
I think as a baby, I'm the daddy in this situation.
That's fucking right.
So
Merch to come.
Melinda stepped up and was the daddy in the situation because she not only wants to exonerate her husband, who she knows is not guilty and is going to jail for 54 years, but she also wants real justice for her mother, her murdered mother, and for her niece.
Knowing that there is a fucking psychopath like that out there, like, you got it. Fuck, like, your husband's in jail, whatever. Like, fucking go put this person away.
And that feeling, which is also why this would be such a great movie. She's the only one who knows that there's a fucking child rapist murderer out there still. Scary. And if she doesn't do anything, it's, he'll do it again. Yeah. So what she does is she gets this list of the sex offenders in the area and she starts to track them down and find out where they hang out.
She's Dog the fucking bounty hunter.
Yeah. And then she dresses up in sexy clothes and goes to their bars that they like to hang out in and flirts with them and gets in their proximity so that she can take their beer bottles, put them in plastic bags, and run out basically the story she tells on Criminal with Phoebe Judge is that she would flirt with them. They'd get a beer. At some point, the guy would get up to go to the bathroom or go somewhere else. And she'd grab the fucking evidence, put it in a plastic bag and run to her car and peel out and drive away.
Fucking bitch is Sherlock Holmes.
She is. And she puts the shit in her freezer. She said she had to tell her sons what she was doing.
Oh my God.
Because her freezer slowly became filled with these pieces of evidence that she knew if she saved them, she would have them to eventually test against the DNA they collected at the crime scene. Yeah. And she knew she had to do something, and that's what she figured out to do, which is fucking genius. Yeah. So she does this multiple times, puts herself in incredible danger, and all police and authorities say, do not do field work. Do not do field work if you're this person. But Melinda's case was special because she really was all
the only one doing it. Yeah.
She gets a new defense team for Clarence. And because I'm sure it wasn't that hard to do because there's no physical evidence against him. Right. And so she hires someone named Martin Yat, and the two of them start working on this list of potential suspects. And while they do that, they find a video, and it's a video of, I think, from what I remember, I think it was like a family wedding. But Melinda sees her mother in the video, and she sees a young man that's kind of around her mother. He's standing near her a lot, looking at her, trying to talk to her, and just kind of around. Creeping. And she gets serious creeps because his behavior is so odd, because this guy's 27 and her mother is in her late 50s. not only that, but he looks a lot like Clarence. So, they find that they track him down. He's living in the area. And Melinda she knows that her mother told him to leave her alone, that basically said, I'm old enough to be your mother. What are you doing? So Melinda's like, that's motive right there. Sure. Basically he gets questioned, but he's cooperative. He answers all the questions and he volunteers to give DNA. So while all this is happening, Martin Yant tells Melinda, you should really get your sister, like try to communicate with your sister again. Yeah. Because if she can just see how clear it is that Clarence didn't do this and that the evidence really is in his favor, maybe she can, like, it'll heal some really, really deep, awful wounds. And you guys can, like, you need each other. You can't do this by yourself. And so Melinda called her sister and basically that's all it took. And she basically said that, you know, like if you would just look at these facts. But also by this point, Brooke was 10 years old and Brooke was starting to say, you know, I was saying what they wanted me to say. And, as they were one day looking through, I think it was a photo album. I can't remember what happened, but Brooke looked down and said, or maybe it was a picture of this suspect. And Brooke said, well, it couldn't have been him because his eyes are blue. And it couldn't have been Uncle Clarence because his eyes are blue. And the man who attacked us, his eyes were brown. And like, that's when she's starting as a child who, you know, is now has a little breathing room and is a little far away from it, is going, yeah, now that I remember that wasn't, like, that's not accurate. Yeah. So when they show Brooke a picture of this 27-year-old man, her face drops and like she looks terrified, and both April and Melinda are convinced that they found their guy. But when the DNA test comes back in 2001, it's not a match. And they can't believe it. They thought it was like the perfect thing. But the good news is that they also tested Clarence Elkin's DNA against this DNA that they were testing, which was the samples that were found in both Judy and Brooke's underwear. And those samples matched. It was one DNA. What do they call that?
When the person gives it to one DNA.
Well, sample, but but it profile.
Yes.
It's a single profile in both, so they know that's the guy. But it's not this young guy that was flirting with the mother. But it's also not Clarence Elkins. Yeah. And so Brooke officially recants her testimony in a recorded deposition, and in January 2002, they put in a request for a new trial and they're denied. What? But Melinda's not deterred. In 2004, with the help of the Innocence Project, a judge agrees to further DNA tests with biological matter from vaginal swabs that were taken from both victims, or from Judy Johnson, and fingernail swabs, whatever, or fingernail residue from Brooke. And because before only the hair was tested. And so the only caveat in that, the judge said that the family has to pay for it, and it costs $40,000.
Holy shit.
So Melinda's like, we have to do this and we have to get it done. They don't have money like that in any way. But her and her sons decide they're going to start a fundraising website called Free Clarence Elkins. And they just put all the information about, about everything that we've talked about so far on the website. And they start raising money. They end up raising the money.
Oh my God.
Over $40,000. They get the evidence tested. The tests reveal it's all that same DNA profile again. It's not Clarence. They request another retrial. They're denied again.
I know.
Yeah. Because he was convicted on the eyewitness testimony, not on DNA evidence.
But the DNA is proving that the eyewitness testimony is wrong.
Right. So now it's 2005. Melinda's at home reading the newspaper. And on the front page, she reads a story about a couple in her mom's town who are arrested for raping their own children. And as she reads it, she sees the name Tanya Brazel and Earl Mann. And that was Judy Johnson's neighbors that Brooke walked over to their house the morning after she woke up from the attack and asked for help. And Tanya said, "You wait on the porch while I make my kids breakfast."
What a fucking cunt.
And of course, electric charges run up and down Melinda's spine because she knows this is it. So it turns out that, and again, if anyone forgot, Tanya is the one who told April when they got to the house.
She said it was uncle.
She said it was her uncle, not that it looked like her uncle, but that it was her uncle. So it turns out Earl Mann, who is Tanya's common law husband, was a convicted sex offender who'd gone missing from his halfway house 5 days before the rapes and the murder of Judy Johnson. So now Melinda is on fire with the Lord.
Sure.
She's like, we know it's this guy. She looks it up. She finds out Earl Mann is serving time in jail in the same jail that Clarence Elkins is serving time in.
God.
She goes to the prison to visit Clarence and she says, first she tries to write letters to Earl Mann so that she can get a letter back. A flirty letter in a different name, thinking he'll send a letter back and she'll have the DNA on the envelope. Yeah. He never responds. Okay. So she goes and visits Clarence in jail and says, "You have to get a DNA sample." She says, "Do you know a guy named Earl Mann?" And Clarence says, "Yeah, he's sitting right over there." And Melinda looks over. He's in the meeting room.
Visitor's room, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's blocked. So she gets up and walks over to the vending machine so she can see his face. And she knows she's looking at her mother's murderer and her niece's rapist. And as she's walking and she makes eye contact with him, she realizes that she can't betray anything on her face because he may have seen her on the news as the wife, and he must know that Clarence Elkins is and why he's in that jail. So she smiles at him like I'm just making eye contact with somebody. Her telling that story on Criminal is pretty amazing. Cause she just realized it's just a woman who is coping and making shit work so that she can get to this end goal. Yeah. It's incredible the strength she must fucking have. So basically she says the best thing you could do is get a cigarette butt from him. It'll leave the most on there. You have to pick it up with a Kleenex, make sure you don't contaminate it. And you're the only person that can do this. So basically Clarence Elkins goes to, he sees Earl Mann smoke a cigarette and put it out in a clean ashtray out in the yard. And he goes over with a piece of Kleenex in his hand and picks up the cigarette butt and has to hide it in a Bible for 2 weeks before he can send it to his lawyer. So he finally is able to send that evidence to the lawyer, and they test the cigarette butt. They send it off for testing. It's a match to the DNA that's found on Judy and Brooke's underwear. So on December 15th, 2005, the lawyers petition again, only this time the district attorney calls for the immediate release and acquittal of Clarence Elkins.
Oh my God.
He has been in jail for 6.5 years.
Jesus.
And on the same day that they call for it, Clarence Elkins walks out of prison. Now, this is the heartbreaker to me, even though this story is so awful. Yeah. Less than a year later, Clarence and Melinda file for divorce. And when I heard that part, I was just like, this fucking woman bent over backwards for you. I feel like, look,
you don't think it could have been her?
It could have been anything. It could have been anything. All I'm saying is someone gets you the fuck out of jail.
Yeah. You do anything.
Maybe you give up some of your bullshit.
Yeah.
But But
I think maybe she was still over it, maybe she didn't do it because it was her husband that she was in love with. Maybe she just did it because it's this person she's known since 18 years old and
she knew it was
wrong. So
it was her mother.
It wasn't like she was like, I gotta get my husband back so he can fucking cook me breakfast all the time because I got him out of prison.
No, I know. I just feel like the effort she put in, and she just didn't give up. And there was, in this, again, why this would be an amazing movie. there were reasons for her to give up about 5 different times, and she just didn't do it.
Totally.
It's amazing. But yeah, I don't want anybody to be in an unhappy marriage.
Yes, you do. It sounds like you do.
If I can't be happy, no one should. Here's what's cool. Melinda Elkins Dawson is her new name. Was instrumental in getting Ohio to pass Senate Bill 262, which is also known as the post-conviction DNA law. And that means that there need to be provisions for DNA testing post-conviction, which if the outcome could change the it says determinative outlines. I'm trying to shorten something that I can't even explain.
You're a lawyer.
But but then also Clarence Elkins was instrumental in getting Ohio to pass Senate Bill 77, which is also known as Ohio's Innocence Protection Act, which requires police to follow best practices for eyewitness identifications and provide incentives for the videotaping of interrogations.
Yeah, dude.
Right? And requires DNA be preserved in homicide and sexual assault cases. Because, you know, sometimes they go, oh, we don't have any of the DNA left.
It's solved. We can throw this, or like, he got convicted. We can throw this out.
Yeah. So both of them, Melinda and Clarence, kicked ass and actually got the law changed so that to prevent this from happening to people in the future and to basically adapt. It's like our legal system, especially in that time, really needed to update itself because it's like, if you have this science, you can't say we never go back and test anything because there's innocent people in jail.
Yeah. And the science is always, getting better and better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we know now that eyewitness testimony is just not reliable at all.
Right. And that the police procedure. Right. There are times where there was the coercion was just the beginning of it.
I mean, it's not even like purposeful coercion. It's just wanting to understand, and it just becomes something else, especially when you're interrogating a young child.
Right. Well, right. There's the 2 parts where there are the people who are like, we'll just beat it out of you. We'll keep you here for 14 hours and then you'll say whatever we want. Yeah. There's that part that has to end. But then there is that thing of, whose job it is to talk to a 6-year-old who has to tell you a story like that, and the human impact of that, and what you would then want done to the person you think did that to her. Sure. How do you not, go a little bit blind and just try to get the job done? Totally. Another, positive is that Clarence Elkins ended up getting millions of dollars by suing. He settled with the state of Ohio for $1.75 million, 1.075.
Over $1 million.
Several million dollars. And he also, settled with the city of Barberton with the police department for $5 million.
Jesus. Hope he gave a couple of those to Melinda.
I know. For real. And he also, had bad PTSD for a long time. Yeah. I'm sure that money is, it's no victory.
No.
At the end of something like that. No. But that's the story of Clarence and Melinda Elkins.
Fucking shit. God damn it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Crazy story.
Amazing. Good job.
Yeah. What's your fucking hooray for this week? Oh, wait, let's just do a yoga corner check-in.
Oh, okay.
Because I want to do it because I did it again.
That's right.
And I'm very proud of myself. But partly only because I've developed something called plantar fasciitis, which is the most painful foot issue that is such a bummer. And I was like, I have to go to yoga because I have to start stretching. And it's all basically muscular, whatever. So I went back to the gentle yoga, and I swear to God, things like this happen. When I got to the yoga class, the first stretch we did was the stretch I had been doing that helps plantar fasciitis. And she's like, we're just going to do this calf stretch against the wall. And I was just like, God, that's weird and fateful.
It is. It's like everything happens for a reason.
It really does. So I'm kind of excited because I feel like the beginner's ice has been broken.
The momentum has started. Well, it didn't do it for me, but I do have an email that I can read.
Oh, okay.
It's just as good, if not better.
Great.
Karen, Georgia, Steven, Fuzzy Friends. I heard on today's episode you suggest that people organize Murderino yoga classes to raise money for good causes.
Oh.
Funny thing, the Richmond, Virginia Murderinos just organized one.
Whoa.
I set up a meetup yesterday evening and it was full. I set it up. It was full by this morning. I'm setting up a second one for the wait list. Want to get everyone a chance to participate. I've chosen End the Backlog as our good cause. Not only do I want to offer some sort of justice for the victims, but let's face it, rape is a gateway drug to murder. Instead of a murder-themed flow, we're going to practice a warrior-themed flow to offer up strength for victims.
Good.
And so this was sent in by Katie, who's the owner and instructor at Lunge Yoga in Richmond, Virginia.
So awesome.
So fucking cool. I love that. So
well, that's
I'll go.
great.
I'll go this week to participate.
We'll keep it going.
Yeah.
I have to, because I'm becoming the ossified man. It's really frightening. It's like all my muscles are like, well, if you're not going to use us, we're just going to freeze up permanently. Horrifying.
Love it or leave it.
Yeah.
My fucking hooray. I've had a lot of anxiety lately and stress and unhappiness and just over social media. So I took Twitter and Facebook off my phone.
Yep.
And I'm just not using them at all right now. And it doesn't feel great yet. It's not like I'm like, I feel amazing. No, it doesn't feel great.
It's hard.
It is hard. And I'm bored. But I'm glad I took a stand. I called my psychiatrist to up my anxiety medication. So
good.
Took some steps to alleviate my anxiety a little bit instead of just, sitting in it. And it's a comfortable, familiar feeling, but I know it's not where I want to be.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's very good self-care.
Oh, I also want to say real quick, I thought of this about my story that we're not making fun of or making drug addiction or heroin use, a hilarious thing. If you have a drug issue, please go get help.
Yeah, I think we made that super clear.
Okay, great. Go on.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell you 95 more sad stories about how uncool drugs are.
Yeah.
Well, my fucking hooray this week is a little weird. Because I got very bad news on Tuesday morning. And I haven't processed it yet, but I do want to talk about it because my Auntie Ping died, and I've known her since I was like in 3rd grade. She was one of my mom's very best friends. And she was, one of the very few people that stayed with my mom all the way through her illness. The entire time she was there for me and my sister. She always had been. She was just one of those, like a real matriarch and a real badass. Mm-hmm. She had a heart attack and died very suddenly. She was relatively young.
Yeah.
I have not processed it yet. It's not hasn't really impacted me. It was so shocking and there's been so many other things going on that I've kind of gone, okay, I'm going to give myself 4 days and then I'm going to deal with that later. Mm-hmm. But it's because she is just one of those people that you never thought was going to be gone. And so I would like to say this. We are only here for fucking 15 minutes. I'm not kidding. The older you get, and when you're younger, you feel like nothing's ever going to happen to you. You feel like you have all this time and that you can waste your time on stupid bullshit. You can waste your time on hating yourself. You can waste your time on hating other people. I don't recommend it. We're on a clock. And if you can right now, the younger you are or wherever you are, if you can just understand that, accept that a little bit and start living your life like you could lose the people you love the most tomorrow, or you could die tomorrow. I think it's a smarter way to live. Instead of it makes you extend yourself to people. It makes you a little less self-obsessed and a little more outwardly oriented. And I just think I was home for my sister's birthday. I could have called my Auntie Ping and had lunch with her. I didn't do it. And now I'm never going to see her again. And I regret that so much, but that's kind of how it is. And that's how it is with anybody. So I love you, Auntie Ping. Thank you for everything. And love the people that you love and try to do better with loving the people that you don't love. It's just better for you.
That's beautiful, Karen. I'm so sorry for your loss.
No, thank you.
Cheers to Auntie Ping.
Yeah, she was the greatest. She really was. Ping Demo. We'll miss her.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Stay sexy.
And don't get murdered.
Goodbye.
Bye. Elvis, you want a cookie?